I'm here with Abe Dinkus right now, the one and only Abe Dinkus, you know.
In the dust, have him low, eyes up. Said stay small, he just laughed from his gut. Late night screen, glow rum on the desk. Pin like a pistol, heart pounding in his chest. It's time for Abe to rise to new heights. Stack that fuel, let him sharpen his mind. Pay Abe so he can grow, take flight. Load him up, watch him walk through the fire. It's time. It's time for Abe to rise to new heights. Frontline words in a cultural fight. Pay Abe so he can grow, take flight. Back this man, let him claim what's right. They throw stones, he builds homes from the shards. Laughs at the slurs, turns scars into art. Wide brim shadow on a rusted old truck. He's talking truth, they're praying he shuts up. It's time for Abe to rise to new heights. Stack that fuel, let him sharpen his mind. Pay Abe so he can grow, take flight. Load him up, watch him walk through the fire. It's time. It's time for Abe to rise to new heights. Frontline words in a cultural fight. Pay Abe so he can grow, take flight. Back this man, let him claim what's right. Pass that plate, this ain't charity, it's war. Pass that plate, every dollar is a door. Open roads where his voice runs wild. You fund the fight, you free the child inside. It's time for Abe to rise to new heights. Stack that fuel, let him sharpen his mind. Pay Abe so he can grow, take flight. Load him up, watch him walk through the fire. It's time. It's time. It's time for Abe to rise to new heights. Frontline words in a cultural fight. Pay Abe so he can grow, take flight. Back this man, let him claim what's
Oh my, of course I would be tiny and on the side. That's just how it be sometimes. Welcome in. Thank you, Gorilla Biscuits, for that gifted membership. That's much appreciated. Looks like you got Kokomo, which is a friend, and we enjoy seeing him around here. So thank you very much for that. Confluence's HR, which is, of course, Big Soda. Thank you for the $2. And that is your president. I have to say, yes, yes, it is. All right, gentlemen. So, as you can see, the title is very nondescript, right? Who is to blame? Who indeed? So, I've started many of these I am not, Corey. Thank you for the Cash App donation. I am not. Hold on. Let me pull up Let me pull up a window and I'm going to look at it because maybe I am and I don't know it. Oh, yeah. I do know this. I guess I wouldn't know Aquinas's specific rhetoric or complete argument, but I definitely have used in the past the unmoved mover or the first mover argument. Because in a causal chain there must be a start point, and I guess this is also the baseline of say the tag argument, right? In order for there to be time, space, and matter, there has to be an originator, because nothing, everything can't come from nothing. And once everything exists, even life cannot first come into existence from unlife. All of those things travel back to a first cause, first mover, or unmoved mover, the infinite that spawned all things, right? Hello, Law. Good to see you. Thank you for being here for me. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, there's also, when you start dipping into modern day physics, you also find that this is actually the case, Corey. I would say that if it is true that energy cannot be destroyed or created by us, right? At least in the physical reality, we can't make new from nothing, right? There has to be a base to work with. The only thing that could initiate that chain of events is something that had first the energy to create time, space, and matter. And then from there, you jump into if you had space and matter, when would you put it? Just like Kent Hovind says, right? If you had space and matter, when would you put it? If you had matter and time, where would you put it? If you had time and space, what would you put? So when you break it down, those three base parts had to come from somewhere. And if that somewhere is God, then he is infinite. So, and it had to come from somewhere, because if we look at the Big Bang, there can't be a nothing into something. And even if there was something, that something didn't just spawn all the rest of everything from nothing, right? It didn't just all of a sudden decide it's going to become everything on its own. So that's the thing. That's the presuppositions that exist within science. There's all these weird presuppositions, like when we were growing up, they would tell us that, before the Big Bang, there was just a super condensed mass or energy or something, and that tiny completely condensed something exploded into everything in the universe. And it's like, well, what was that something? Where did it come from? And what made the pressure or the explosion happen? Like, it doesn't matter which way you go about this, there has to be an initial action or an initial entity. And so I agree with, at least on the face, I agree with Aquinas's argument here. And if you simplify the world into a dichotomy of everything is a potential that needs an actualizer to actualize it, either you have a chain of potential being actualized, then a beginning of the chain. Oh, there must be a true actualizer to begin the chain. Yeah. And see, that's the foundation. It doesn't, I think the potential part is, I think, okay, so if I put it into like my headspace, potential is ever present in all things, but potential does nothing absent action, right? And so the actualizer has to utilize or create the action, right? Just like something in motion stays in motion, it would take something to divert the path of the thing in motion. Right. I think Aquinas was a genius long before. You think about some of these guys of the past, like Aquinas, like any of the philosophers, even the founding fathers. There's a level of intellect there that's like baffling. Yeah, the acorn in the tree. Yeah, I've heard this breakdown too. That it has the potential to become the tree. All of the information needed, all of the potentials within the acorn. But the acorn is not the tree. Core components of the argument. Yeah, motion is potentiality to actuality. Motus, not local movement, but any change from potentiality that could be to actually what is. Whatever is moved by another. A thing cannot move itself because it cannot be in a state of potentiality and actuality at the same time. In the same respect, for instance, wood, potentially hot, needs fire, actually hot, to become hot. You're good. What are you guys talking about that over at Confluences prior to coming here? Is that what happened? Were you arguing potentiality and actuality with somebody at Confluences? Saw you guys had a pretty decent size panel over there earlier. I didn't watch a bunch of it. I just popped through, but I saw you were on there. So what'd you guys discuss? Were you guys discussing philosophy or what? A little side quest. I see. Well, it's a fun side quest. I was digging into a bunch of philosophy earlier today as well. Not so much Aquinas' work. I was kind of looking at the baseline of philosophy itself. Because I've been mulling over some of the stuff going on within the internet space from the philosophical standpoint, and when I look at like the whole of the space, there's all these there's the panel spaces, there's the debate spaces, there's drama-ish spaces, which kind of correlate with both. And what I found is like there's this oddity of the panel space doesn't like when debaters come in and debate bro them. The debaters don't like as much when the drama or panel people come into the space and try to make claims or chop it up or what have you, because they don't like the inaccuracy and flaws in argumentation, so to speak. And as I was looking at it, there's this, they were talking about politics, I see. it's funny because I started to, as I was breaking down some of these ideas that I've seen happening in all these different spaces, it's like you have the panel spaces and the drama spaces getting angry at debate bro or ortho bro or whatever we want to call it, tactics when they come onto panels. And it's funny because a lot of it has to do with just formal logic or breaking down statements to their logical entailments and relevance. And you've been around for a while, so Big Soda, so you kind of know. For me, I'm completely willing to just have a conversation. I don't need to philosophically tear apart somebody's comments or claims. I'm completely happy to just talk about things, random things, whatever. If it comes to an argument of true, false, or things like that, then I'm more than happy to get into more of a philosophical argument style. But I try not to just jump into people's stuff and chomp it. I don't get in there and start tearing apart people's stuff as if it was an actual debate or an argument. I think that there's a level of, it makes sense that you want people to be more accurate, but I think if you jump into a random conversation and you try to debate it, then what you've done in essence is kind of rude. You've just jumped in and tried to cause an argument rather than just join a conversation. And the same would be true the other way around. I think if you go on to a panel that is debate and you just seek to have a conversation when they're already having heated back and forths and then feel like people are attacking you when it's already a debate space, well, guess what? That's also kind of rude. You jumped into a space where active philosophical debate is going on, and that's kind of goofy. And I think it's actually partially what's spurring some of the animosity and anger and back and forths that have happened, like between Abe and OG, or Abe, I'm Abe, between Emmett and OG, or Daria and OG, or even on Confluence's panel when you see debaters go on and shred rather than just join the conversation where they're exploring a topic. And then there's obviously all this other stuff going on, right? There's drama between creators. I think some of that has to do with the logical frameworks or the philosophy with which people function within, like whether it's Sarah and them, or if it's this new thing going on between Orthodox and Protestants, between like Jay Dyer and David Wood, which then became David Wood and Andrew. So right. That's fair. I think on that, good to see you, Never Lucky Rubber Ducky. Haven't seen you in a bit. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Big Soda said, I think this is a better tool of defense, especially against atheists. You have to be careful because you can be definition cucked if you're careful. I think you meant to say if you're not careful. Yeah, I think you have to be very aware and specific with your rhetoric, especially when it comes to these kinds of things. Because if you leave gaps or you say the wrong thing even just once, you've shredded your own argument in their eyes and possibly given them enough ammunition to shred you in with a chat or an audience. But it's funny that you brought that up, actually, Big Soda. I was actually talking about this with my two sons earlier today about the origins of the universe or the origins of life, and how a whole bunch of presuppositions have to be made before you ever even get to the theories that we have. Like for evolution, there's a level of you have to first you have to first presume that life exists, which is the bedrock of the entirety of the argument of evolution, because evolution answers nothing if it can't tell us where that life came from. Like, you always, especially when I was growing up, I always heard that, well, if evolution's true, then there is no need for God. And if there's no need for a God, then he doesn't even exist. And it's like, well, that's great, except for evolution doesn't explain the origin of life. All it does is say that life can evolve over time into varieties of life, which, again, I don't see the evidence or proof strongly enough to even make that claim. Again, there's a million presuppositions built into several pieces of evolution, but prior to it, life had to come into existence somehow, which we still haven't proved is possible in a lab of any kind. And prior to that, then you have to ask where all of the life, matter, and time come from in the known universe. So this argument specifically is in reference to that. So I wonder what you all think about the things going on right now. Here, I'll just put it to you this way. And I know that this has probably been reviewed and re-reviewed and gone over a whole bunch. I think I was kind of affected by it some, like, not so much like it affected me in a way that's harmful or good at all, but like my thinking mind and a little bit of my Christian self, I guess you could say, is like, I don't like what's happening. And so the interaction that went on between Dr. David Wood and Andrew Wilson on their debate the other day, the prompt is messed up. Obviously, there's an argument prior that gave the prompt its existence, and then they're going to argue about it. Now, basically, the idea is that Christians should not side with Muslims, or I think what he called Dawagandists, he calls them, against other Christians. It might have been at all, but I can see this kind of from both sides. So from Andrew's standpoint, there's a level of, if there was a post made by somebody who, for instance, is an Islamist, and they are a Dawa guy, which means they're constantly pushing for stances against other religions, to cast down other religions and bring people into Islam. If you agree with one thing they've said, they make a good post, and you go and say bingo, then you're only really agreeing to that post, and there's no harm, no foul there. David Wood is saying that if there is an ongoing fight between that Muslim creator, and he's been doing horrific things to Protestants, in this case, like doxing them or threatening their wife or calling their wife names publicly or saying things all across the internet to try and tear down the reputation of this Protestant creator, then another Christian should not go to that person's posts and like them or agree with them on a different topic that still makes the creator look bad, right? So in this case, it was God Logic, and I don't remember who, I think it was Orthodox Muslim or something like that, who made the comment, and he basically called God Logic a grifter. But prior to that, Orthodox Muslim was running around calling God Logic's wife a whore publicly. He was calling all of this, saying all these things about them. And then I guess that whole community over there, the Dawa community on the Muslim side, was doxing him, doxing his wife, doing things to David Wood and his family as well. And then Jay Dyer went over to Orthodox Muslim's channel and said bingo under a post saying that God Logic was a grifter. Now, it's to me, it's like I can understand if Jay thinks that God Logic is a quack or he's a grifter, he could say bingo. Now, we all know, everybody on my channel, at least I'm pretty sure, knows that grift for us is a joke. It's in response to people saying you're grifting money off of people for stuff you don't believe, when in reality, we believe what we're saying, and we joke about grifting because it's been said against us as if we're snake oil salesmen or something like that, which we are not. So partially it's a joke to call somebody a grifter in the first place. I don't know if the Protestant Christian side of the internet realizes that or not. And I would guess that the Muslim side is using grifter as the original term, like actually professing something you don't believe for monetary gain or gain in general. My issue or my contention here is I've always felt internally that if I'm a Christian, even if I'm a Protestant Christian, when Islam is taking shots at Christian peoples, it is better for me to stand with the Christian brother or sister, even if they're not completely in my camp, right? If somebody is shredding on somebody who's Catholic, even though I'm not Catholic, it would be better for me to stand against the Muslim who is going against the Catholic than it is for me to agree with that Muslim against the Catholic, because I think Christ, whom we both believe in, even if we believe in him differently, is what we should support, and not Islam and its stance against Christianity. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The axiom was given to man so that we know the origin. Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is there's something in me that says I should stand with Christians, even ones that might be just slightly askew for me, before I'd stand with Islam, who has dictates completely against and derogatory towards Christianity and wants to destroy it, to supersede it, to conquer it. Now, obviously, it's become very apparent over the last several streams or chunks of time that there is a level of difference between Protestant Catholicism and Orthodoxy. And I don't know this for sure, but I don't think most Catholics will call Protestants not Christian at all, although they may. I know that plenty of Protestants will say Catholicism isn't Christian because of the Pope. I know that Orthodoxy has a problem with the Pope. I know that Orthodoxy will say that that Catholicism is close to them, and then Orthodoxy will say that Protestants aren't Christian at all. At least some, not all of it. I don't think there's like generic full-blown stances from the church, but I do know that if we aren't functioning within Orthodoxy, because it is the one true church, and the church is a part of Christ as Christ's body, to Orthodoxy, that means Christians who are Protestant are not Christians. Or what I've heard recently is they're Christian in name only. So anyway, obviously there is some fight between all the groups of Christians. I think that it is detrimental to the whole of Christianity. And here's the thing. I know that there are Orthodox folks out there that are going to say, well, they're not real Christians, so it's not a fight between Christians. It's a fight of people pretending to be Christians against real Christians. Well, regardless of whether or not that's true, that fight between Protestants and Orthodox or any of the other sects in a very public way, I think is bad, because what happens is the rest of the world sees it and goes, oh, look, all the Christians are fighting each other. Obviously, there's something wrong with that belief system. Now, I keep hearing other quips, I guess you would call them, against like Protestants, right? It'll be like, well, if a Protestant believes that they're a Christian, can a Protestant say that Muslim, or not a Muslim, Mormon is not Christian? And the Protestant will say, well, I don't think they are. I think it's more cult-like. And they'll be like, well, how could you even make that claim from your standpoint? And as much as there's a ha-ha moment in there, if you go to most Protestants, I'm not going to say all of them. I'm not going to say I even know exactly what the number could be, but most Protestants that I know in my lifetime of 42 years in multiple states across and including the military is that Jesus Christ is your Savior. He died on the cross and was resurrected on the third day, that he is God in the flesh, that only through him can you find the Father, and that he died for your sins. And those Christians who are Protestant also seek the answers and the truth through their scripture of the Bible. Most Protestants would say that Mormons are not, because they have a completely separate revelation that goes against what scripture says by itself. Most Protestant Christians would also say that you can't have Islam believing in the same God, because the character of God in the Holy Bible is not the same as the God of the Quran. I would say that a lot of, if not most, I can't even make the claim of most, but a huge portion of Protestant Christians would agree with most of what Orthodoxy is saying. And the only things they're hung up on is stuff they don't see in scripture, right? And then Orthodox will have the claim that, well, we are the apostolic succession of the church from Christ's time till today, and it is literally our church who made that Bible that you read, and are claiming that you know better. Well, that's where we're at. Either way, I don't think that it's good for us to make public displays of thrashing each other. If we're talking about the faith itself or our belief in what it is, I think those are fine to refine. But I think the moment that we are making enemies on all sides of each other is probably bad. I think we need a unified front of Christians in order to push any level of cultural change in the U.S. towards Christ. And as it stands right now, if we're shredding each other, we're not making the good cultural change that we need to. We want to win the midterms. We want Christianity to be the dominant moral virtue, or the Christian moral ethic is what we want behind governance, right? We don't want the church running the government, but we want Christian values as the values of the nation. And this is why I've stood with things like Christian nationalism over time, because I think that the Christian way is best. But if the Christian communities of the U.S. become enemies with each other on all sides and shred each other up, then I don't see how we actually make the good cultural change that we need, because we're busy arguing, fighting with, and insulting each other. And the rest of the country is going to watch that and go, wow, I guess that's not what I want. And that, I think, we should avoid. You can have whatever standpoint you want on it. That's fine. This is just my opinion. I don't think that public displays of attacking each other is a great idea. And I also don't like the fact that people on the Dawa side, the Islamic side, tagging a bunch of Christians in their posts against other Christians to get them to side against the Christian and with Islam. I don't like that either. I think that that's horrific, mostly because if you look at history, what you'll see is Islam trying to destroy Christianity, both Protestant Christianity and Orthodox Christianity in the past, and Catholicism in the past. It is the one overarching enemy of Christianity, besides maybe communism. Between communism and Islam, they are the greatest enemies of Christianity over time. You could say atheism's one, you could say the secular worldview is one, sure, but they haven't done the things that communism and Islam have done to Christians over time. And so it's just my opinion. that as Christians, we should have allies. You don't have to agree. I'm not saying that there needs to be ecumenism, but what I am saying is we should not be thrashing each other publicly in order to win some fight against the other Christian group, because I think that either Christian leaning or non-Christian peoples are going to see that and go, well, I'm not voting with them. I don't think that's a great way to go. Static Age Show. Yep, I've seen that. And I think, didn't Seraphim Rose said something similar, I think, as well. Nope, everyone's to blame, Mo. You included. You have to take your share of the blame. Yeah, I figured it was you, Blood Logos. I saw your profile picture, but I wasn't sure, and I'm like, But okay, so to recap, I do understand some of the fight that's going on between the factions right now, right? Like the Protestants, like David Wood, all that, and Andrew and Jay and all that. Okay, I understand. I get it. I do get Andrew's point that there's a particular point made in the post, and Jay had every right to say bingo on it. That's fine. He has an opinion. It's great. That's all good. Whatever. It's not a big deal. But what I would say is, like, the public insulting, thrashing, destroying of each other, that is being done due to the little spat that has happened over God logic, I don't think is good for the Christian side, because I think what happens is it sets a funky precedent out in public that we don't stand together, and is more likely to drive people away from us and not to us when it comes time for implementing more Christian society in the United States. I can't make a definitive claim. This is my opinion on this situation. I think there was an initial response in me that was like, shit, this is probably not good. I don't like the idea of, even if the greater part of Orthodoxy believes that Protestants aren't Christians or Christian in name only, they still need that allyship for us all to make the Christian, or the nation, more Christian centric or more Christian national. And I think that infighting of Christians in public, the way that we are doing, if it continues to grow, is probably bad for us in the long run, or at the very least puts everything off for a longer period of time. I don't know. I suppose it just depends on who's looking at the picture. Like I said, I understand Andrew's point. Now, to be fair, I felt like the way he was phrasing it was weird, because I do kind of agree with how David Wood said, like, I can agree with the truth statement that thing is bad, even if the people saying they want the votes for thing is bad and aren't being honest about it. Because you can still affirm that thing is bad. You don't have to agree or highlight the lie of the bad people. That's not within the purview of your responsibility. If they're actually fighting for something you agree with, it's fine to agree with the truth statement of them, even if to them it's a lie internally. You're not affirming their lie, you're affirming the truth of the statement, not the lie that they are telling, because the lie they're telling is false, not even actually a lie. In reality, it's a lie to them because of their perspective. I get where he's coming from, though, because you're affirming a liar, at the very least, for a thing that you agree with and want passed. On the David Wood side, I think there was a level of taking it personal, because there's actual threats of violence against God Logic and David Wood and their families. And we all know how the Dawa groups get and how doxing and other things being done to you online can be extremely detrimental, even to the point of physical harm to you and your family. So I get where there's a level of defensiveness that came out from the Protestants in that ring. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Do you think it's nothing and it's unimportant, or do you agree and think that maybe we shouldn't have extremely public spats where it just comes down to trying to destroy each other? I also have. Well, see, that's actually my point, Mo. Is I think even if it is the case that like the Orthodox brothers and sisters out there and the Protestants don't see eye to eye on everything, at the very least, we do want a Christ-centered nation. Now, I could have a discussion with an Orthodox person, and they could say, "Well, I don't know that we're talking about the same thing when we say Christ-centered." Well, I want a nation that is more biblically Christian, like whether it's the Ten Commandments, whether it's Christ's teachings, his actual words in Scripture, if it's the gospel. I want those things more into. I want our nation more in tune with all of those things, and I think that we could agree on that enough that it's important. Well, I know you would say that, Blood, but here's the issue. There is a level of work that has to happen for that to happen. And as it stands currently, these kinds of fights actually dissuade Protestants from even looking at Orthodoxy. What happens is this kind of fight happens, and then a ton of people who were kind of thinking about it prior are shoved away, because instead of it being like, we get why you're mad, David Wood, but here's why we did it, and then have a conversation. Instead, it becomes like this blown up thing. And then all these Protestants out here that were kind of thinking about it are like, well, screw that. I'm not going to come out and thrash and drag people through the mud, and people are going to side with Islam against us because I don't even know why. And like, that's the other thing. Like, you have all these Muslim creators like tagging Orthodox Christians to their posts against Protestants. And it's like, this look to all non-Orthodox, at least from what I can tell, seems like, cool. I guess Orthodox Christians hate Protestant Christians enough to just sell them out to Muslims. At least that's on the surface. Now, obviously, you could look into it deeper. You can find out everything that's going on. But I think that it doesn't seem good. And I would say for myself, I'm like sitting here like, whoa, sheesh. I would stick up for an Orthodox Christian against any Muslim for the most part on most things. Now, if you're doing like actually doing wrong, I'll call you out, even if you're Orthodox or Protestant or Muslim. But if you've done nothing wrong in particular, but people don't like you and Muslims are coming at you, I'm going to be like, hey, what the hell? I'm going to stand with my brother, who at the very least is seeking Jesus Christ, who does want Christian values in the U.S. and not Sharia law. That's part of what my claim is. I know that the interpretation is different. I get that. I would pick, in my head, I would pick Catholicism or brothers and sisters who are Catholic or Orthodox over Muslim. That's just, and in my head, I expected basically the same in the other direction. But I think that has been knocked out of people's heads now. So that's a good question, Mo. You would have to ask people. But I will say, if I bring it up, usually it's like, well, Protestants aren't really Christians anyway, so like, oh. Yeah, that's fair. I don't mind the debating and trying to flesh out ideas, but we also have to remember that every single thing we do isn't an argument against people. Sometimes we can just have conversations with them. But I get what you're saying. That's partially how I started this. I was like, sometimes it's just a conversation and sometimes it's a debate. If you try to make everything into a debate, even a non-debate conversation about a random topic, then you're probably screwing the pooch. You're just driving people away from yourself. And that's fair. And I've said that before to people, Blood. I just don't know if it is that most of us on the internet only see the online Orthodox, the community of Orthodoxy by those online, then we're going to probably assume that that's what Orthodoxy is like. Just like when people watch Protestants on the internet, they're going to think most Protestants function like those Protestants. Same is true for any group. If you see a decent number of these people as creators in this space, you're going to assume that they are at least a modicum of what most of the people within that community are like, or at least they have some congruency across the group enough to go, okay, this is what they stand for or are like. Right? And so I can't say yay or nay on what the stances of anything are particularly for any of these groups except for myself. So I can only gauge it based on all the interactions I'm seeing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis from these different people in these different groups. And so here's the thing. If I'm seeing the interactions I'm seeing online from these different people, from these different groups, and I go, okay, cool, this is the baseline. I'm going to I kind of understand where they're coming from here and here and here. And this, it seems like these guys are congruent enough that I understand where they're coming from. But then you're told something like, hold on, it's not so one-sided. I've seen that guy re-examination asking other prots how to coordinate against Orthodox spreading straight up lies. Well, that's possible. But is it straight up lies, or does he even know that that's the case? Or is it from his standpoint they're not, right? Just like you said earlier, with the Orthodox side, we interpret all of those things differently. And so I was having this discussion the other day about language usage, because terminology means different things to different groups. If you and I have a conversation about something, and then I have that same conversation with a Mormon, their idea of justification or sanctification or different things is completely different. I've actually had some of these conversations where I was left so confused I had to go look up the differences between particles of speech in order to understand what just got said to me, because I understood it completely different as it was meant from that person. And I'm feeling like there's a lot of that going on between Orthodox and Protestant. However, I know that a lot of Orthodox were Protestant prior to becoming Orthodox, and I think that they should know the distinction or the gap between the language issues. And so I'm not sure if it's an unwillingness to see each other's point of view, or if it's a complete miss, like they're just talking past each other. Now, there is the case that if you feel like, okay, say one party feels the other party is actually wrong, full on wrong, and you want to argue over the belief system or the way the belief system is supposed to work or scripture or what have you, then that's fine to do. I don't know, man. My whole point here is I don't think it's good for everybody. I don't think the big public spats, because what's happened now? We have the initial fight between Orthodox Muslim and God Logic, which spread to Jay, then spread to David Wood, then went from there to Wood and Andrew. And now what's happening is the whole of the group of the Protestant community on YouTube is starting to sweep because of it. Not sweep, but like it's growing. Like it's like, here's the issue. Everybody sees it. Boom. So now you have the Protestant side all talking about it. And the same is happening now on the Orthodox side. And it's like, oh, this is great. So is this like going to grow into more and more and more fighting then? And is that good? Is that what we want? I mean, I think healthy conversations can come from it, for sure. But if it becomes like battle to destroy each other, I don't think that's wise or good for anybody. And the problem is there are people at certain levels of internet, what would you call it? Like stratas that don't see as clearly. And what happens is they will, instead of saying, oh, this is a great argument for why things should be done a certain way and what this meant. And there's others that will say, oh, look, a battle line. Let's destroy the opposition. And I think there's danger in that. I think that the moment that battle lines and enemies are named, things change from being just conversations to there being a whole bunch of things on the line. That's my biggest issue. I don't want it to become that. I would rather it become actual productive stuff happening. So yeah. But I mean, like there's things, right? Like I'm not generally offended. Hold on. I think this is a difference in how people look at the world, actually. Yeah, but Abe, how much of this is just people being butthurt over their arguments being attacked and taking it as personal attacks? How does this not just turn into tone policing? It's not, okay. What I'm saying has nothing to do with tone. What I'm saying is it's fine to fight with each other. It's fine to have arguments with each other. But if it turns into actual fights between two groups where they're trying to destroy each other, not like destroy their arguments, like actually destroy each other, ideologically destroy each other, then it's probably both sides are going to take hits for it. And I don't think everyone's just over arguments. I think part of it was my friend, not me specifically, but I'm saying from their point of view, my friend was attacked by somebody who is saying they want to beat him, grape his wife, she's a whore, all these things about him, right? And then somebody else who is a Christian, now to a Protestant, Christian means, you know, somebody who believes in Jesus Christ and is seeking to follow Jesus Christ, right? So when they see another Christian go and comment on somebody who's been linking, or not linking, but what is it? Tagging the Orthodox community over and over again with posts specifically against a Christian brother, and then he goes and agrees with them. I can see from that point of view how other Protestants are going to be like, whoa, what the hell? You're going to side with the dude who's saying that they want to go and rape his wife and stuff? Like, whoa. And then to call it out. Now, instead of doing that, I would have just gone to the people responsible and had a talk, whatever. And it's possible they did. I have no idea. But what I will say is, from the optics, right? Not about tone, but from the optics, if the whole of the non-Christian world, especially in our country, right, start seeing this huge explosion of fighting between all Christian sects against each other, and it turns out they're just tearing each other up, calling each other everything, being horrible to each other everywhere online, then there's a level of that's hurtful to getting Christian ethics put into place in leadership in the country, because people will look at that and go, that's probably not what I want. I don't want a bunch of infighting at the top high levels of government, right? That's all I'm saying. I know partially how this drama started, Blood. I know that there was all kinds of shite being thrown prior to this in, I think, like probably the Protestant smaller region of YouTube. I didn't watch every piece, but again, this is my that's why I kept everything general. I'm not like trying to say I know somebody did wrong. In fact, I already said that I agree that Andrew is right when he says there was one particular thing that was said and he agreed with that, or said bingo to that, and there's no reason to get your panties in a twist. And there's definitely a level of overreaction from people involved. So, and I don't even know who the other creators are. That's the other thing. Emmett was watching a video to try and show how this all started, and all I asked was, I don't even remember what I asked. It was something about how Christians should stand up for Christians against Muslim, so long as, you know, if the Muslim called out somebody for doing evil and it was true, then you should stand with that. But like, anyway, he brought up some video with some black Christian creators and played a part of the video, and I'm like, I don't know who those people are. I don't watch a bunch of different creators in different spaces, but it was one of the creators, I guess. And it may be the creator that God Logic raided to. But even then we're just in a chain of associations in order to prove so-and-so's our enemy, and then it gets more and more convoluted until people are fighting each other because of who they associate with or who they raided to. And either way, it feels messed up to create a fight over it. No, this is part of it started with just Jay saying bingo at the bottom of Orthodox Muslims' critique or claim that God Logic is a grifter. And because Jay posted bingo at the bottom of a message of Orthodox Muslim whose ex post or whatever said God Logic is a grifter. Well, for months he's been calling Orthodox Muslim has been calling God Logic's wife a whore, saying they're going to come and grape her, doxing his wife, doxing God Logic, doxing other people in the Christian community. So when this happened, the Protestant Christian community was like, whoa, what the hell? Why are you siding with a Muslim who's making threats and stuff at these people already? And from there, it became an argument between David Wood and Andrew Wilson. And then they had a debate over it because David Wood threw out a stupid comment like you should never support Muslims or something along those lines. It was a stupid prompt in the first place. Andrew took the prompt. They did a debate. The debate turned into why are Christians supporting Muslims against Christians? And here we are now. But regardless, I think it's a blow up that isn't helpful overall. That's all. And because of, say, the David and Andrew debate, which Andrew made perfectly logic points, and David, I see where he's coming from. This is the issue. Like, I get what Andrew is saying. Although, again, like I said earlier, I think that David is correct when he says he can affirm the truth of people shouldn't be doing underages in the butt. Like, I get that. You can affirm that that's true, that we should stand with legislation to stop bad things from happening. And you don't have to agree with the lie that Islam's telling, because this is how it was laid out. If Islam doesn't believe that it's bad to do this thing, but are trying to get everybody to vote to ban it, should you agree with them? Because you know the thing is bad. And it's like, yes, you should agree with the truth that that thing is bad and not with the fact that they're lying, which I get. The way that it's twisted up is like, you should stand for what you believe, which is true, that it's bad to do thing. You don't have to affirm their lie, because their lie is only to them internally. Has nothing to do with the right or goodhood of the thing they are pushing. If the thing they're pushing is good for society and aligns with Christian values, then you should side with that thing. But you don't have to affirm a lie to side with the thing. Just because they are lying internally doesn't mean it's your lie. And so, I don't know. So a chunk of it was like, this is really funky. And then, like I said, if it is the case that because of this argumentation that has happened between God Logic and Orthodox Muslim, and then between David Wood and Andrew, grows to the point where Orthodox are now smashing everybody they can on the Protestant side argumentatively, and then the Protestant side does the same, then there's this massive rift of division, at least optically, to the people of the internet spaces, and then possibly larger, because a lot of these people are associated with much bigger people like Joe Rogan or Christian entities or anything else. And I think that just blows this up more and more and more until the public purview is, oh, look, the Christian communities are all at war with each other. We probably don't want that to be taking the seat or the reins. And so that's my biggest contention, is I don't want a shredded rift where a bunch of non-Christians or people close to Christianity are like, screw that, I don't want any part in it, because look how freaking toxic it looks. So yeah, that. Again, just my opinion. Could count for nothing, but that's true, Grumple. That is true. Thank you, Voltaire. So, regardless of whether or not David would talk to Jay, which I have no idea what all happened behind the scenes, right? But I know that there was an ex post of David Wood, I think, calling out Jay for siding with Orthodox Muslim against God Logic, calling him a grifter. from David Wood's post against Jay standing with Orthodox Muslim. Andrew posted underneath saying basically, why wouldn't he be allowed to agree with the point of Orthodox Muslim just calling him a grifter? Just one statement. The idea is if he agreed with that, this guy has also been attacking God Logic in way worse ways over the last several months. A bunch of other Muslim creators are also tagging Orthodox Christians in the space in order to get their attention to side against God Logic. And so from David Wood's point of view, it looked really screwed up. Andrew's like, it's just a singular bingo under them calling him a grifter. So it feels like, to me, from the outside, that it was like, this is screwed up from David Wood's side. He's like, this is messed up. Why are you siding with Muslims who are causing all these issues and threatening and all this other stuff? Maybe the case that Jay didn't know about any of it. And so Jay was just saying bingo because he doesn't like God Logic. And boom. But I think God Logic has some level of history with the Orthodox community, and who knows? Who knows? I don't know everything about all these situations. I just know how everything seems to be from the outside, and it doesn't look great. That's all. I think there's good, succinct arguments that have been made. I don't think Andrew did something wrong by making the argument that he did, talking about Jay. But I think if it spreads to dozens and dozens of panels attacking each other on everything they possibly can, I don't know that that's helpful. Maybe it's a lot of publicity, but it also makes the communities look petty and stupid and angry and all kinds of things. I've said that, Scott. I think that it was a logical conclusion. Like if he said bingo just to a statement of somebody calling somebody a grifter, that's whatever. It shouldn't be assumed that he agrees on him on every statement he's made. But it does, I'll say this though, it does look really weird when then the Dawa guys start posting and linking and tagging the Orthodox community like Jay and others to come finish off the Protestants who don't even believe in Christianity and all these different things after the fact or just prior to all of this going on. It ends up looking really nasty is all. No, they should get called out. Anybody who's doing jacked up stuff should be called out. I've already said this. Anybody who's doing jacked up stuff should get called out. This is my point. My point is it sucks that it's going on. I'm not saying someone was wrong. I don't know if anybody has taken that from what I'm saying. I'm not assigning blame to a side. I'm saying everybody probably got it wrong in this thing. All Andrew did was argue the topic that David Wood put out there. His only connection to it was that. And he's right that there shouldn't be some crazy blow up critique of Jay's a cult because he said bingo to a Muslim post. I get it. I also get what the other side is seeing when they see all of this and they think this is not cool. These other Christians are siding with Muslims against Christians. That's the point of view that is coming across from there. Again, I'm not saying don't call anyone out. If somebody's doing wrong, call them out. And like I said, even earlier in this same statement that I'm making right now, even if it was the case that a Muslim called out a Christian because they did something wrong, you should side with that because they did something wrong. That would be completely fine. I'm just saying it sucks to watch it happen. That's all. What's up, Emmett? Emmett. Oh,
Can you hear me?
I
Yeah?
can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure if you could hear me or not because I wasn't there.
That was weird. Like you were on stage, but not on stage. And I was trying to click you on stage and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening right now.
Well, I came here to have the talk. We're gonna have a devote
Let's
the
do
talk. Yeah.
Let's do it.
You know what talk I'm referring to, right?
Which one? Go for it.
Well, you've been having a little bit of a little bit of a talk with me when it comes to the orthodoxy versus Protestantism, like
Yeah.
drama going on right now or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your concern?
Well, I've just been talking about it for like the last 40 plus minutes.
Okay. And what is your concern?
I don't know. I guess partially what I've already said is that there is there's so much to it actually, because I just went through a whole bunch of stuff. So I know that there is great differences between Orthodox and Protestant, and there's a decent amount of Orthodox that would say flat out that Protestants aren't Christian, or they're Christian in name only. But to the outside world, they have no idea that that's even the case. They don't know that there's a difference at all. And so what happens is when this fight happens, if it proliferates into greater and greater degrees of taking shots at each other in a public forum, the people who are either moving towards Christianity or are on the fence about conservative values in general are more likely to say, nah, screw that. That infighting doesn't look like it's good for the country. That doesn't look good for my life. That doesn't look good at all.
So the infighting is the problem between the Protestantism worldview versus the Orthodoxy worldview? Is that
No, I'm sure there's way
about?
more, but I think that the fighting isn't going to be great publicly for our, like, if we want Christian values to take the seat in the United States, this doesn't do that in the minds of people around it. That's all. First of all. Second of all, the whole fighting and the stuff, the stances, everything else, that stuff could be talked about, argued about, whatever. It's fine. But it is weird to get told over and over again certain things, like, and just hearing it over and over again on the internet. Like, I didn't hear it before, not that long ago, but now it's like very often that it's like, well, they're not Christians anyway. It doesn't matter. They don't believe in Jesus. Oh, they're not Christian. Like, okay.
Well, I mean, we have differences in the way that we look at it, right? There's a different perception, not only in the perception idea. Obviously, it's not a representation of the whole of the faith. Like, when it comes to Orthodoxy, like, the faith is not online in the sense of you're not gonna find it online. You're not gonna find the values online. And then I know that there is people that does apologetic online, like Jay Dyer. That's usually the one that people refers to. But you know what was the problem with Jay Dyer? Why people are mad at him?
What, in this specific scenario?
Well, in general, right? Because they're being mad at Jay Dyer in general about since I met you. You've brought up Jay Dyer a couple of times to pretty much say, hey, Jay Dyer is kind of what's wrong with Orthodoxy in a sense.
I didn't say that. I've said there's a coarseness about it that could drive away people seeking to understand greater. Because
it's not very nice, right?
Well, no, it's not about nice. It's about if you're looking into what you've got wrong and you just keep getting told that you're dumb or you don't know or you're not the thing that you think you are, it doesn't beckon you to look closer. Instead, it beckons you to push away and fight that thing in general.
Let me, yeah, of course. Well, you're always gonna have the fight or flight response, right? In any time. That's normal in the way that people think about stuff.
Sure.
So if I go on and tell you, hey, and this happens everywhere, like your whole philosophy and idea is wrong, you're gonna either fight or flight because it's the worldview you are having. So you're gonna immediately reject it in a sense.
If you just say that your whole philosophy is wrong and you've got all kinds of stuff wrong with the way that you see things, that's fine. At that point, like, yeah, let's talk about it. Help me understand it. We'll disagree, or I can dig in and figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the philosophy in and of itself will be the part that it's wrong, right? Because this is the point. When I never heard. I've heard people in our space say that if you keep on doing what you're doing, you are not actually partaking in what you ought to do for salvation. But we don't know about salvation, right? Because it's not our place. And I've heard, like, if you don't do what you don't follow the path that was laid up for you when it comes to Christ, that pretty much shows that you are not acting in accordance to what to what you ought to do in accordance to be Christian. But again, we don't know. There's no way for me to know if you're a Christian or not. The only thing I can go through that is the identification that you have to be Christian in a sense. And then I have to grant you a lot of grace because that's all I have. But if you come and not at the moment that we have any kind of if you're gonna have a discussion or a debate on Christianity, at that point I will use the whole worldview to justify why I think you're wrong. And if you're gonna be mad about it, I get why you might be mad about it, but it's not my problem at that point, right?
Well, if you're having a debate about it, then there shouldn't be any butthurtness. It's actually just a debate about the topic at that point, right?
Or even talking about the debate itself, even before that, it's like, hey, I think you're wrong about this, and then I should try to grant you as much grace because you say you're Christian, so you believe at least you believe in Jesus Christ. So you may not have all of the truth, but at least you know that, and that's all I have to go through. But when it comes to the basic to the idea even of itself, at that point, the idea is the thing that matters. I can care about your soul and you as a person, but I cannot, because of you. I would have the responsibility of tearing down your ideas so that you could grow into what is true.
Okay.
And I think you would think the same way if you you'd say that you're a Protestant, and I tell you, hey, I'm a Christian, and you would be like, well,
I do agree. I do agree.
Yeah, all you have is the same thing, and you would have to come up with your own sense of why is it that you are correct and the church is what you say the church is, because we're talking about the ark, and we're talking about the path of salvation, and we're talking about what is better for the soul of the individual, right? So I understand why people can be butthurt about it. I totally get it. Like, every single time there's a reason why Andrew Wilson makes the grief streams, and it's because he was called a grifter a billion times, and just making fun of that.
Yeah, and I just outlined that too. I outlined that it's a joke because people think that there's snake oil salesmen, whether it's you, me, or Andrew, that we don't believe what we're saying or what have you. And the joke is that we do believe what we're saying and people are still willing to give. So we'll call it a grift because you called us grifters. We'll just take it and use it against you. So
yeah, so like I saw the whole point of what I see right now was in accordance to what we might consider to be the fruits, right? The first part was a lot of I think it all started a couple of months ago. They invited an Orthodox Christian who was a catechumen, and then they pretty much dogpiled on him. The Orthodox Christians, what's this man's name? He's one of the. So let me look for that.
Okay. Because it's not like I watch every creator in the space. Like, I watch a few.
Yeah, no.
I watch Jay, I watch Andrew, but I don't watch like every channel. So this is what I'm saying though, too, because this is like spreading out at this point. Like, I came online today and I see like Christian King, and he's got a 24-hour show of why Orthodox Christians are standing against Orthodox Christianity. And I'm like, great. This is not a good thing that's happening. Like, just a spreading out of warring against each other.
I kind of think is it was something that was meant to happen, because we don't believe it's necessarily the same. We believe in the same. We believe in kind of similar attributes, right? Like, I would say that when it comes to Jesus Christ and the Bible, we share that, but when it comes to the way we interpret the Bible and the way we see the service and what it means beyond that to be Christian is very different. And I know that there's a lot of people that see this as just as they see this as just something bad, but I think it's important that Christians have these kind of debates at some point. It is necessary.
The debates are good. The debates are good. But
yeah, but I don't see like I see the response. For example, today I woke up and the first thing I see was Jim Bob making a David Wood reacting to David Wood when he was talking about the debate that he had with Andrew Wilson and the after, right, when they're like, oh, this is why we don't agree with orthodoxy. And that I saw a little bit of that in both senses, and it's gonna end up going into more debate, because otherwise I don't see any reason to even have a conversation, right? Ruslan. So Ruslan invited some catechumen into a kind of debate space.
He also invited fathers too, right?
I don't know about that. I know that Jay said that he was willing to go there and do it, and he instead invited these catechumen. And
I think Jay went on there too, actually. But
Jay was there before, and then he said that he will do that specific show, but Ruslan rescinded that invitation and invited the catechumen, and they pretty much dogpiled him. And the Orthodox community was pretty pissed about it, especially because the Dyer could have done it instead. And it all started from there because Jay Dyer called them out on that and said that he was not ready to have those kind of debates in a sense, and that he was willing to do it, and he offered a 2v1, I think, Trenchhorn or something, and Ruslan versus him. And for some reason, I see that specifically, right? I see a lot of people offering debates and taking debates back, and everybody's like saying, hey, this is bad faith, this is not good. But nobody can even can either tell me why it's not good or why it's happening. I'm not entirely sure. Like, even when you came to me at that point, I was it was a little weird. Give me a second. The Book of RLM says, "Rodin, comment for me. Thank you so much for the for the raid, Book of RLM."
So you got heated pretty quick.
I couldn't have the debate with you, so I wanted to go them over. But it's a little bit heating to me because I'm not even part of it. So it's weird that you were like complaining about the orthodoxy with me, and I was trying to like explain that this is going to happen because we're talking about completely different worldviews.
No, it's trying to understand the worldview. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't understand the worldview, but you just Okay, there's a certain level of this worldview is different. Now you know it's different, but it's not, you don't know all the differences. But then every time you're talking to somebody from that worldview, they're going to dunk on you. And I'm not saying this specifically for me, but I've seen it multiple times. And by the end of it, the people who feel like that's what's happening, it's like, what's the point in even engaging with these people at all? Because they're like seeking every individual opportunity to trash me, but never fully explain anything to me.
Okay, you're talking about who was trying to trash you? Because I don't think for example, you came to me and don't think I ever tried to trash you at all.
No, you and I have had great conversations. I'm not, by no means am I saying that you have been some terrible representative and tried to trash me. I'm saying this is what you hear basically across the board from people who are having interactions. And then it's like, why is this happening?
Okay, so we're talking more about this.
I do understand some of it, right? I definitely understand some of the ideas. And you and I've already talked about this. Like, some of the ways of communication are just so, right? If you're coming at it from a philosophical point of view that is very grounded, and there's a direct line from the argument you're on through in a grounded manner to the answer, but the people you're conversing with don't get it, if what happens, instead of explaining what you're talking about or why it's a through line, if instead you just insult them, thrash them, treat them like they're stupid the rest of the talk,
okay,
then what happens is they didn't gain understanding. A bunch of the people who are watching didn't gain understanding, and it just looks like you came up to be an asshole.
Money talks, so I would recommend you to pull up on the stream.
Yes. This fight has been coming for a while now. Keep in mind that prominent Protestants online stand to lose a lot, and Jay and Andrew are exposing their leftist materialist antics. Look, I don't even disagree with that.
You think that they're exposing their leftist materialist antics, Andrew and Jay Dyer?
I don't disagree with that. I've said that to you in the past. I think that there's way too much feminist leftist bullcrap in the Protestant community. I get that, and I've already agreed on that multiple times. And I just so you're aware, in the rest of this live that I've been having already, Emmett, I did say that nothing was done wrong on Jay and Andrew's side. I already said that Jay should have every right to post bingo at the bottom of something that called somebody a grifter. That's fine. And even if he didn't know about all the threats to his wife and all this other stuff that was going on the side, then why would we expect that he would know all that when he said bingo? It's not like he was in cahoots with them at that point. And then Andrew calling it out in the argument he was on point. It doesn't make sense that you would get that angry over somebody putting bingo in the claiming that God Logic is a grifter. However, to be fair, I can see it from David Wood's side, because for myself, if I saw the same thing, and this is what I was trying to say to you in text the other day, if you and I are Christian, granted, there's a difference in worldview. I got that. But if some Muslim was saying terrible things about you, I would not go and back them on those things. I would think even if we have different worldviews, that's my brother in Christ. He believes in Jesus Christ, and I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm not going to side with a Muslim over him. So I could see that kind of point of view. And I think that because David Wood was already intimately aware of all the shit that Orthodox Muslim was doing to God Logic and his wife and all the doxing and all the shit that was going on, it lit his fuse. And then he saw Jay Dyer post on that, and he's like, what the hell is another Christian doing, siding with a Muslim who's doing all these horrific things? Probably went too far right off the bat, lighting him up for it. And then it spiraled into this.
The thing that I kind of, because I understand the way that I see it and the way that I've seen it is, and I understand that we have a different ideation, because we do have different beliefs in some senses, right? At the end of the day, I'm a zealot. I'm a zealot. I I do have like this idea that this is the true church, and that idea is true in and of itself, and you can call it circular reasoning or dogma or anything. That's fine, because I don't have I know.
The problem is I don't even know that you're wrong. I don't even know that you're wrong.
Yeah,
and I've never claimed it.
No, I'm saying that I have that as the basis, right? And I don't. I'm not even going to claim that I can go through from the transcendental argument to the church's right, because I pretty much use revelation. So I'm still having to accept the church as right in order to use the revelation, in a sense, right?
You have to accept the mystery.
So when it comes to that, and when I see people that are part of the church that are like being told that they don't know, and when I see the arguments from their side, and the arguments from their side is a denial of pretty much Matthew 16, when it says that the gates of hell cannot prevail against the church, so the church cannot be corrupted, in a sense. It's very hard for me to agree on that word, right? I'm gonna go into defense, in a sense. So I can see and I can concede that it is possible that I could be acting, especially when it was against you, and that's what I invited you on, because I didn't want to escalate at all. I was like, hey, if we're gonna have this conversation, it's better if we actually have the conversation, and it's not me talking to chat that I don't even know how that I don't even know what is the position that you have, and I'm not entirely sure what is your emotional state, and I am just getting heated, right? So it's better. It was better for me to just come up and be like, "Hey, let's have this conversation and understand what it is."
I agree. So my issue is, there's multiple, right? The fighting. I know so many just want to freaking understand the differences, and because of that, there's weird pre-existing division in that. Then there's like people standing their ground really hard, and they can have the hard arguments between each other about the theology and the figuring that part out. That's fine. That's actually healthy, I think. The part that I think is the bad part is there's plenty that are seeking. Okay. And then there are those who are outside of it, but still on the conservative side. And for both of the groups who are seeking and on the conservative side, if this goes straight to like slandering, insulting, trying to destroy each other from different Christian groups, it's going to push them further away from even seeking. And I don't care if they're seeking to look at Protestant Christian or if they're going to Orthodoxy. I think either way, there's a chance that if they're just on the fringe looking at it like might be something worth it, that it might drive them away. Especially because it's two large Christian groups that they may watch both of and now are at complete war with each other. And if I didn't watch everything today, but like you've got, like I said, several Protestant Christian streams and groups over here doing a bunch of streams about this stuff. And you have a whole bunch over on the Orthodox side also covering this stuff. And it's like, there's literally questions getting asked at this point. Are these the skirmish lines? Are these the battle lines being drawn? And if that's, I don't know that that's a great thing. If it's just debate, cool, that is good. If it's just hashing out ideas and standing for what you believe the worldview is better, great. That's a good thing. But if it's like trying to destroy each other's characters and all of that, that's probably not good. That's where I'm coming from. Again, like I said, I don't think either side was particularly like wrong or evil in the stance that they took. I think that it made sense, the things Andrew said. It made sense that Jay made a comment on Muslim Orthodox's thing if he actually thinks that God logic is just a in it for the money kind of guy. And I also understand where David Wood was coming from, because his friend has been attacked by that specific Islamic follower or Dawa guy for a very long time. And he's standing up for his friend, just like you would probably stand up for an Orthodox friend who had somebody coming at him, right?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is, and I've done it, but it's I think that I know what you're coming from. It's like, well, we have this problem, and we actually want to have the religion or the Christian values to be the one thing that is supposed to be informed or giving us the idea behind it, and all we're seeing is the opposite, right? What we're seeing is
hold on, Money Talks. Do you want to read this one? Jay and Andrew.
Yeah, go ahead. You want me to read it? Joe Shepard 3 verse 20 says, Jay and Andrew give harsh correction and get piety signaled for being too mean, but some people miss that the early church fathers make them look like fluffy little bunnies in comparison. Harsh correction is out of love. Yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about that. That the other part is when we're having at some points, right, we're going to have infighting in between the different belief systems when it comes to Christianity, and it's obvious that it's going to happen because there is this push to call whatever people want that are not even Christian. So let's say that you have a female bishop. I would call that not Christian immediately.
It's not Christian.
And when people call me and it's like, wow, how can you say that I'm not Christian? I would be like, well, it's the obvious contradiction in the belief system immediately. Because even if you are sola scriptura guy, there is in the scripture there is specific roles given that have to be followed and met.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the reason why even as an Orthodox Christian you are they say, hey, read the scripture. There's why we say that there's more than one specific authority, right? It's not just what the priest says. It has to be in congruence with the tradition. It has to be in congruence with the scripture. So that's why it's holistic. If something is incongruent, and then at that point we can even say, hey, this is not okay, or this is wrong. So that is something that's going to happen, because if we allow anything to be called Christian, even if in basic things, then we can have problems in which the belief system just loses all meaning. So I'm going to give you a ton of grace, but there are things at one point that we're going to have a disagreement on, and we're going to have to go through the disagreement. And I get that we are the meanies of the internet, because we say words that are no words. But at the end of the day, it's better for I don't care about the word in and of itself. I care about the ideas behind them.
I don't even know if it's no words so much. I think it's more along the lines of like, you're in not you specifically, right? But say there's a scenario, two people are debating on a topic or arguing. Maybe they're not even in a debate, they're on a panel arguing about something. And somebody says what they think it is. And the other person's response is, no, you stupid piece of shit. You're not even Christian. Then you're like, whoa. Not only is he not Christian, but he's a stupid piece of shit. It's like,
well, yeah, but the first part is whatever. I would be way more angry at the second part. It's like, I don't care. You don't call
the second part is what nails it. The second part's what nails it. But like the entry there is like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I can disregard the 100% the stupid piece of shit. That's whatever. It's uncouth.
It's uncouth. I don't.
Yeah, it's uncouth, but it's not the thing I've been mad about. That would be more mad about the
right. No, I think it's referential though. I think it's referential though, because like, if you're a stupid piece of shit, they're calling you a piece of shit that isn't Christian. And it's like, at that point, you're like, the amount, this is less about meanness and more about like, you have looked down on them in a manner that is like, you're less than me and you're not even worth being Christian at that point. Like it's like a level of, and this is, again, this is probably difference in framework, because when you're like reading your Bible daily and you're praying and you're seeking Christ to your fullest, and you don't even know what Orthodox Christianity is, and then somebody starts calling you a stupid piece of shit who's not even Christian, you're like, what the hell? Especially if the conversation hasn't even gone anywhere yet. If the conversation's like, yeah, I follow Jesus Christ and this and this and this, and then the response to that is an explosive response like, you're a stupid piece of shit and you're not even Christian, then the response of the person who just received that isn't like about the meanness, it's about the claim that you are lowly and not Christian at all. And it's like,
yeah, but let's say that is the opposite way, right? Let's say that I tell you very, very politely, well, I understand what you mean, okay, but I don't think you have the intellectual capacity to get these the correct way, thus you're not Christian. Does that actually change the
no, I
does
think
that
that's
actually
still,
change anything?
no, it's just as bad, because you're calling them stupid still.
Yeah, well,
Because
but
you're
I was
judging their
I was being
intellectual
nice
capacity.
about it.
Yeah, but you're judging their intellectual capacity and not their ability to understand. If they have the ability to understand, just explain it.
Well, but
Right?
that's the problem, right? The problem is that in the way that we're looking at things, we're saying, hey, look, there is all of these different things when it comes to there's all of these possible arguments, and then I invite you to a debate. Hey, let's have this debate about this stuff, and then you're like, oh well, yeah, because this is what happened with Jay Dyer. It's like, oh yeah, but I've been talking to people, and you're just too mean. You're just too mean, so I'm not gonna have the debate because you're too mean. So it's like, well, at that point, fuck you then, right? Why? Like, in reality, the whole point of the debate is to have the ideas challenged, and so either you're right or I'm right, and we can go through the argumentation in accordance to it. But if you're just gonna discount it because you're saying that I'm mean, what do I do at that point?
Okay, so I guess there's just differences, right? Because like if you and I come up here and we're gonna go back and forth, I don't need to hurl a bunch of insults at you, right?
Well, no,
without cause. Like if there's no cause for it, right? I don't need to call you a bunch of shit.
Yeah, no, but that's the debate is for,
I could
right?
just go explosive for no reason and start calling you a bunch of shit, right? But I don't need to do that unless.
But that's what the debate is for, right? That's why you have all the rules in the debate. That's why you have fallacies like ad homs, so that people don't do that. So that the argument has to be something that is more than just an ad hom. Otherwise, you're losing the debate in a sense, because you're not even doing what you ought to in accordance to the debate. So this is the thing that I saw the other day. There were these 3 guys. I already talk about them, and one of them is like, I came to your platform to have a debate with you, and you said that we needed to have a formal debate, and I didn't accept because I thought you were gonna do some kind of shenanigans. It's like, well, that's the point of the formal debate. The point is there is a structure that you ought follow that prevents shenanigans from happening. So if you want to actually say that you're doing it wrong or something like that, you can you can cry about my platform, I mute you or something like that, and I don't want that. I want us to have a formal conversation that we can actually have the debate on, and you cannot say that is that you lost it because I mute you or kick you or something. That's what the formal debate is for.
Right. That makes sense.
So it is I get the idea in that sense.
For me, it's like some of the time it's not even about, like, people talk about tone or being mean or those, that none of that is the issue for me. Most of the time it's like, what's the cause behind this? Like, what point did this thing have? Because if it's useless to the conversation and nobody ends up getting better understanding from the situation, then all it was like chat says, shock factor entertainment. But at that point, if the person was actually seeking to have conversation and understand, then that's been stunted and thrown away. And I'm like, I mean, if that's the prerogative, cool, that's fine. If that's what is wanted from the interaction, but I don't know, I guess.
Well, we are in an entertainment industry in a sense, right? This is still the internet. Even we're talking about apologetics and debate and stuff like that. We're gonna be doing. There's a little bit of a factor when it comes to the shock value, because we
Sure.
still have that idea that we want to bring home. Now, I could say when it comes to for example, I've been banned on Jay Dyer and never talked to him ever in my life, right? I was literally banned from his ex for trying to ask a question once because I think I have kind of a troll account on X, so he probably thought that was a troll, even though we never talked at all. And so it can like I get how things are seen in a sense. I just don't understand. Like I don't
I think it's
understand
more
how this
frustrating.
specific fight has to do with the community in and of itself, right? I go to like there's the people who are Orthodox that we know of and that we interact with, right? Like Marte, like like Pay, like Daria.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a specific people that I can think of that are Orthodox and that I know of, and I don't think this is any kind of representation on them in a sense. This is like two people who were having a little bit of a scuffle. It has escalated into their communities online, but
I'm,
it is neither a representative of either.
I agree. Well, I've less concern for the people engaged in the main thing, right? Like I have zero issues with Jay or Andrew or how they act or react in their own stuff, or uh, David Wood or Inspiring Philosophy or any of them. My bigger concern is all the smaller creators who aren't as skillful and aren't as purposeful about their movements, who will look at this and run off and act a fool, generally speaking, which I have seen before, and you have as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is basically what I'm trying to get to is like, yes, this thing happened. No, I don't think anybody did the wrong thing in this scenario. But I know that there's going to be plenty of overzealous chatters and overzealous small creators that are going to take and run with this in every direction possible to try to turn it into war, not for the sake of understanding, but for the sake of tearing down the other.
Now, I will say this, and I understand that that when it comes to the ideas, like for example, when it comes to the idea from the Christian perspective, in my sense, I would say that this is not a bad thing for orthodoxy, right? Because what orthodoxy is saying, in a sense, is there is a true church and there is a true set of beliefs, and the true set of beliefs can be obtained through the church in and of itself, and it's perfect or better for you to know of it than to not know of it. And it can be like, for example, one of the things you said to me was, well, I didn't know of orthodoxy until very recently. And it's like, yeah, sure, I agree with that, and we're not going to hold it against you, but now you know. Now that's not a okay. You have to contend with the argument now, and I think that's
Well,
part
now
of
I
what
know
we
it
want to do.
exists.
Well, now you know it exists, but now you also know the argument. It's like, hey, the church is true, and this is our argument as to why is it true. And we understand that it may be very hard to join a church, or it might be a way, or it might be you may have a lot of different things that prevent you from becoming orthodox. That's fine, but at least now you know the argument for orthodoxy. Now you know it exists. You cannot say, "Oh, I didn't know it didn't exist anymore," and it's gonna keep on escalating in that sense. because that's what we want at the end of the day. Is, hey, this is the church. This is how you know it's true, and this is how you know you should join it. And the way to it is, this is the path. So I don't think anyone from the Orthodox position would be backing down from having arguments in this aspect. I saw today itself, Jimba was sending out debate challenges. I think Jay Dyer has been sending out debate challenges. You know, Andrew had this debate a couple of days ago about pretty much Jay Dyer. So it's gonna be interesting in that sense.
Yeah, I think the Islamic groups are banking on it. We'll see how it goes.
Well, the fact that, listen, I don't need to. You don't need to like me, and I don't need to like you for us to be like, you know what? We agree with each other when it comes to the Dawanist. We're gonna get rid of them, and then we can fight each other. But we agree on them, so that is an agreement beforehand, and we can disagree on a lot of things other, but we really disagree with them.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's the spur. The spur is to try to get us to tear each other apart before they have to do anything, and that way we're already in shambles when they come. But
what you think? What do I know? You think they're gonna be less in shambles?
No, I think that they're trying to turn everybody against each other right now.
The arguments have already been said. Every time Daniel Hikagachu has to go on the stage, he's gonna be remembering that he was called, that he has to support cousin marriage, for example, right?
Of course, shredded. But they're not interested in just debate. They're actually, at least from what I can see, interested in subversion of every group possible, turning everybody they can against each other so they can worm their way into everything they possibly can, which has basically been happening, I don't know, for the last decade, and they're gaining ground because
but they're not gaining ground because of the Christians. They have been gaining ground because of multiculturalism and the actual other side that I would say is very prominent at the moment. And I do see this kind of in a way that it has been set up as of now, where, you know, there's divisions in Christianity in a sense, and they're going to be exploited, which is something that will happen. It doesn't matter if we have the perfect society or not. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a goal when it comes to Christianity, right? Like there will be a lot of different things I would do with a lot of different groups that will 100% at any point in time be better. You know, even if I disagree with those persons, I will still do it. So because that action that I'm gonna ban or I will want politically is more important. If I have to agree with some Muslim in order to get abortion banned, for example, I would do it simply because I think abortion is a greater evil, 100%. And right. And as Christians, we should be able to understand that and do that in a sense. Like, yeah, we can have disagreements, but through that, even if we have those disagreements, we have to agree that there is this evil that is happening that we need to get rid of, and then we can have more disagreements.
Well, I agree with that. But one of the things I was saying too is, like, in the argument between Andrew and David Wood, I can see also on that note where they're both coming from. Like, you don't have to agree with the lie that they believe internally to vote for the right thing. Like, if the case is that they believe that doing the wrong thing is okay, but they're lying and saying it's not to get a law passed that I favor, I agree with the righthood of the bill that they are putting forward. I don't agree with their internal lie, right?
But what if you have
So
to
it's a
do it?
weird.
Let's say that
But
you know that the only way that you can have abortion banned is through not only just accepting that that person is lying, but actually promulgating the lie of that person, even though you know he's lying.
what
You know
lie?
that that person is lying.
What's the
Okay,
lie?
he's gonna go. He's gonna go ahead and he says that he says I will get abortion ban, right?
Hmm.
And we'll
Hmm.
do it because even though we disagree with the Christians, we love them so much that we want them to keep on having more babies. And you know that in
Hmm.
reality, that's not what they want at all. It's just they're lying in a sense. That's what they are. That what they're saying is a lie.
Hmm.
You know that is the correct thing, right? But you
Hmm.
have to go on and tell people, yeah, this guy is not that bad because what he's saying, well, you know what, what his policy presents is that he just wants to ban abortion because he doesn't want any more Christian babies to stop dying. So you are, in a sense, helping his lie and getting him into power. But the greater good, you're looking at it through the greater good, right?
Right. Well, couldn't this is where I was. This is the disagreement I have with the scenario. For instance, is I could go out and say I agree with him. Offing babies is bad. We should vote for that. Now I know he internally doesn't believe it, but I don't have to say anything about what he believes. I can say he's right. He's right. Offing babies is bad. We should vote for
No,
him.
no,
We should vote for that.
yeah. What we're talking about, in the way
So
that we look at it, is I
internally,
agree with
he
you.
has to lie.
That the good is the good, right? If we're talking
Right.
about the idea behind it, yes, I agree with you. I'm talking more about the fact that you know he is lying and you have to accept or agree with his lie so that he can get like in power, so you can get the thing that you want set up. And I know the two positions because the position from David Wood is, well, there is a truth of the matter, and the truth of the matter is good, and that's why that's what we are supporting, and it is the good of the matter. But when we're doing the critique is, yes, that is the truth of the matter, but he's lying. He doesn't believe that. And even though we know that, and we are still going to support him because he's doing something that is a greater good, it's greater the good that will come out of it that the evil or the ill that comes from him lying, right? We
Right.
can agree with that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But again, it just comes down to like, I'm not affirming his lie. I'm affirming what is true and good. And even though he has an internal lie of sneakiness, right? He
Yeah.
wants more Islam. He wants more Muslim babies born. That's why he's doing it so that there's no chance of Muslim babies being aborted. And
Hmm.
also, he knows that the birth rate is down in the U.S. so that more Muslim babies will be born than non-Muslim babies. And so that's his angle. I don't have to fully affirm the fact that I know he's a liar internally. I just have to say, I agree, offing babies is bad. So we should do what this guy is saying
No,
absent
but
the lie, because I think the lie is internal to him, not an external lie, right?
okay, let's say that you have to confirm that he is trying to save Christian babies, or else people will not vote for him.
Okay. I would say
Would you do
still,
that?
yes, because even then, if he gets it banned nationally, I agree, less Christian babies will die.
No, yeah, it's true. That is
So there's still
that
a
is true.
truism there. But
Yeah,
you're
the
right. I
tourism
get
is
I
there,
get what you're
but not
saying. I
the.
totally get what you're saying. Okay, I totally get it. Yes, I'm affirming his stance even though he is lying.
Mhm.
So at the worst in this scenario, I feel like you're supporting a liar because the thing they're pushing will help in the way he's saying it will help, even though he doesn't believe it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was the point, but in reality, that's not the crux of the conversation because one of the
I
the
know.
reason why
It's
he
it's
brought that
about
up is to show
moral
that he didn't want
levels of
to
morality.
debate that. Well, he didn't want
Right.
to debate that. He wanted to debate Jay Dyer, and that's why
Right.
he brought the whole point of it was to bring up at the end Jay Dyer, which is the actual debate of right. the debate at that point became, should Jay Dyer have been attacking God Logic, or because God Logic has been doing a good job about trying to defeat the Muslims. And the answer from the Orthodox position, from the opponents of the Orthodox position, is yes, it's fine for Christians to debate in all fronts. Okay, we will continue to debate and attack the Muslims because, first off, Muslims are dumb and they have to be removed in a way from the ideas. So you have to tell them where they're wrong, and we will continue to do and debate anybody else, the Satanist and the Muslims and the Unitarian Christians, for example, and the Mormons, all of them at the end of the day, because the idea and the battle towards Christ has to be done in all sides, and it doesn't matter if it's nice or not. And I know there's we will still go on and agree with you against all of them in a sense, right? We disagree on the church maybe, but we can agree that Muslims are dumb and bad for society. But we are not going to. We need to be able to propose for you to give the church as an alternative, so that you can have somewhere to go and not just leave you away from something and then, allow you to go into a charismatic world where everything can be good anyway. And I know that we disagree on that area, right? Like that's a position that we can disagree on.
What? Say it again. What would we disagree on?
The idea, for example, the sola scriptura, in a way that I see it, is you can come up with any position when it comes to the Bible, and you will have the revelation of God, and it will be okay because you have the Holy Ghost inside of you. And it's hard position for me to agree on. I know that you may say it's a little bit of a straw man, but in a sense, it kind of isn't.
I think there's enough Protestant Christians that would agree with what you've said, that I could only battle that my personal position is not that. I can't argue that that's not the position of Protestants,
and
because that would be dishonest.
Yeah, and that is
because
another
there's
problem
plenty that will say that.
That is another problem that I have, in a sense, is there is a lot of there's a lot of ecumenist way. Yeah, it's individualist. There's a lot of individualism when it comes to that too.
Thank you, Law. Yeah, it's
friendly reminder to check the time. If you got something to do, I'll let you go so you continue with your stream. I just want to talk to you for a little while.
No, I think this was good. I wasn't intending to have anybody yet, but you're kind of the perfect one to come up. My issue, like I've said, is not directly at Andrew or Jay or anyone in particular. It's just it's like the looking down view of everything going on, and it's like, this, I don't know that this is good, and I don't want. This is the contention. I don't want to have somebody who's known as a Protestant who hasn't done anything or said anything untoward, and somebody who's Orthodox who also hasn't done or said anything untoward, to get on panels with each other and blow up and act complete fools, and for that to happen over and over and over and over again, and shred the credibility of the communities. Because as much as we can say, I could say, I am not the representative of Protestant Christianity, and you could say you're not the representative of Orthodox Christianity. There's chunks that may believe different. The church itself may believe different on things, and I could say the same thing. Most Protestants probably don't believe exactly as I do. There's still going to be huge numbers of people that automatically see that and see that person as a representation of the group as a whole, because that's how people work. They see somebody who is professed this thing, they'll see the rest of that thing as that. And that is where it gets dicey, because then people start taking all these stances that have nothing to do with orthodoxy at all. It's just that person's opinion or the way that person acted publicly, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me, I understand that. Obviously, you and I've had tons of conversations in good faith with each other without issues. We'll argue sometimes, but nothing crazy. But every once in a while, you'll come across this person that's associated with one group or the other that's a total ass. And not just mean, but like stupid and doing things that there's no cause for. And then you're like, this is not good.
One of the things is there's a lot of people who are new to Orthodoxy that, and even I am new to Orthodoxy, that will come up and be completely uncouth, and we'll be talking like, oh, I believe in this is me, I believe in this thing, this is my idea. And it's like there's a lot of overzealousness in a sense that can be kind of good if you're starting in the church, but that's why you're not like supposed to be giving interpretation or giving authoritative meaning of things. You can just give opinions and an idea and philosophical realms. When I go on and I have my debate on morality was a great example of it. Right? People are like, I'm just gonna go ahead and debate that a God is necessary for morality. I don't need to tell you my whole belief system for my argument to be done and for you to understand it. I don't even understand why this about you is necessary. We're talking about a specific thing. So I understand. As I said, the whole point of it should be to give grace. Grace is the thing that should be given before anything else. And I just want to come up and have discussion, as I said, because I thought it was yesterday. I could be a little bit heated, but I didn't want to be heated, and I want to have like an actual conversation instead of me talking about it. Right. So I'll let you go because I don't know if you have things to do or not, but yeah, I thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming up. It was a good conversation, I think.
Yep. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you. Are you still live? Is Emmett still live? Or did he go live? Actually, he was on Elder Lions. That's where he was. Is Emmett live right now? He is live right now. Okay. So, you guys, I don't have any more time for this evening to stream. I will be back tomorrow, but I'm going to send you guys to Emmett's. So, have fun with Emmett. God bless you all. Just know that I'm trying to mull over things that are going on because I don't want to see everybody at war with each other. And from the Orthodox community online that I have come across, I've had great times. We've had incredibly awesome talks. I enjoy watching Jay and Andrew and Jim Bob, and I think they are very insightful and have good things to say, and I respect their opinions. The same is true, though, on the other side. I do watch Inspiring Philosophy. I do watch David Wood and Apostate Prophet sometimes. Like, there is things to gain from all of it, and I don't want to see everybody trying to shred each other to nothing. So that's my biggest concern. And as you guys know, I try to come at people with a little bit of respect, and I don't cuss up a storm and try to attack people. It's not because I'm completely against people cussing. I don't care. It's just a certain level of professionalism I try to come at things with. It's probably partially the Marine in me. So I don't know. I do think some level of optics is important because if you want to sway people, you probably don't want to make them all hate you. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, you guys enjoy your time at Emmett's. Let me set up the raid real quick here. Here we go. That's right. That is exactly right, Mr. Mister. We need to not allow that to exist here at all. All right, there we go. There we go. We got Emmett set up for the raid. And God bless. Good evening. Have fun at Emmett's. Make sure you let him know there's a presidential raid.
That's what I was tripping on.